Hi everybody. In this practice, you will create a table in the target database where the exceptions caught by the replicate will be saved in it. You will then perform test cases on this functionality. You will examine the exceptions table functionality first using the exceptions only option, then using the map exception option. Unfortunately, the exceptions table functionality has a bug with the current release of the Oracle Golden Gate, which is 12.2010. You will notice that the integrated replicate will crash and its status will change to appended. No error is reported in the ggserr.log file. But when you view the report, you will notice the error message as shown in the document. This is similar to a bug reported in the document ID 2176854.1. To fix it, you need a backport patch from Oracle Support. You must contact Oracle Support to obtain it. The only workaround that I am aware of is to just start the replicate. It may crash again, but that's fine. Just keep trying and eventually it will work as it should be. I know it's annoying, but I can do nothing about it. You start with creating the exceptions table. Create the exceptions table as shown in the document in each database. The table has identical columns to the columns in the source table. It has also columns to store the before and current column values. In addition to that, it has columns to store information about the transaction. There is a CDR configured in the parameter file. Edit the parameter file of the replicate process rsrv1. Replace its code with the code as shown in the document. As you see in the code, you can define the Oracle OS variables in the parameter file. This is important to know because if you have multiple Oracle home and databases running in the same machine, you want to tell Oracle Golden Gate which Oracle home and database it should use to connect to the right database. There is a CDR configured in the parameter file. If any error isn't handled by the CDR, it will be reported in the discard file. Edit the replicate process parameter file in the other machine. Replace its code with the code as shown in the document. This replicate is using the exceptions only option to save the code exceptions in the exceptions table that you created. Restart the replicate process in each system and make sure its status is running. You will test the change synchronization from DB1 to DB2, then from the opposite direction. Verify that the salary column is the same for employee ID 140 in both DB1 and DB2. In DB1, update one record in a replicated table. In DB2, verify that the update has been replicated. The replicate has appended. This could be a result of an error or the bug that I mentioned earlier. Let's view the report and see. This error that is reported in the end of the report is the symptom of the bug. As a workaround, just try restarting the replicate process. You need to keep checking the status of the process after you start it up because it could crash again. The update has been replicated. In the following steps, you will perform a test case on the exceptions table functionality. You will execute a conflicting operation and examine the contents of the exceptions table. In this test case, you will insert the records of the same primary key values in both databases. This is a simulation to the insert row exist conflict. Stop the data pump process in both systems. In DB2, insert a new record in the employees table. Set the last name column to the value DB2. This is to distinguish the update statement executed on this database. In DB1, insert a new record in the employees table. Set the last name column to the value DB1. Start the data pump processes. The replicate has crashed and I have to start it up again. The conflict that you implemented is insert row exists. You have not defined a resolution for it. Therefore, no change will be made on the record on either of the databases, but the conflict should be reported in the exceptions table. Check the contents of the exceptions table in both databases. The offending statement has been inserted into the exceptions table. You have implemented the exceptions table functionality using exceptions only option, which is used in two different map statements for the same map table. In this section of the practice, you will use the map exception option, which is used within the same map statement that you use for the table mapping. Stop the replicate in all the systems. drop the exceptions table that you created earlier from each database. In both databases, DB1 and DB2, create the exceptions table as shown in the document. In GGSRV1, replace the contents of the replicate parameter file with the code as shown in the document. Observe how the map exception option is used with the wildcarded map statement. Replace the contents of the replicate parameter file with the code as shown in the document. Start the replicate processes in all the systems. Retrieve the salary column value in both databases for the employee 140. In DB1, update the salary of that employee, add 1,000 to it. In DB2, verify that the update has been replicated. Test the change replication from DB2 to DB1. $1,000 is deducted from the salary, so its value should be $5,500 now. In this section of the practice, you will perform a test case on the exceptions table that you configured with the map exception option. In this test case, you will insert records of the same primary key values in both databases. This is a simulation to the insert row exists conflict. Stop the data pump processes in both systems. In DB1, insert a new record into the locations table. In DB2, insert the same record into the same table. Start the data pump processes. Check the contents of the exceptions table in both databases. Again, the replicate has crashed and I had to start it up. Observe that the error message does not show the column values of the insert record. If you want to save the new values, you need to create columns in the exceptions table to store the required values in them. Then you map the columns using the Col Map option. In this practice, you use the Exceptions Only option and the Map Exception option to save the exceptions raised by the replicate into an exceptions table in the database. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next lecture.